Hi everyone. Today is the second part of building up Django plugin. Just a reminder, we did 5 sessions on accounting and financial statement analysis. Then we went to lesson number 6 was about Django-CMS Plugin. And what did we do last time? I'll go over in a minute, and then I will go over what we're going to do today. So what did we do last time? Last time we said a plugin is nothing but like including an HTML inside another page. It's just that the Django CMS does all what I call plumbing, meaning an easy way to really put it inside the page. But basically, it's really just like an include, okay? And just as an example, let me go quickly here on, as this is a plugin inside a page that's hosting it, you can look at this page. This is a very much more elaborated page, but here we use only includes because this is really a special page that I'm not going to give to everybody to use as a plugin. So a plugin is really when you want to use it in many pages. Include is really for maybe a specific purpose, and you just divide your labor and in a very efficient way. So this is an include. This is an include, by the way, and that's a very complex include because it has the balance sheet, income statement, etc., and etc. One include that has even a whole folder. Okay. So one point that we made last time is plugin is, after all, is an HTML, mini HTML that you really put inside another page. Another thing we said in the first 5 sessions that we have 4 integrated financial statements. Okay. Therefore, from programming point of view, if I want to write a general ledger, meaning a transactions from accounting point of view, after the transaction, if I want all the statements to be updated, I must have some functions that will recalculate all the statements, okay? That function we will see, okay, I gave it the name of recalculate, I think, okay? And we'll look at it. And that's the function that after every transaction, it will recalculate all the other statements. In other words, when we go in here and we click on any transactions, okay, it changes the numbers, but automatically the totals, I want the totals to be correct. And if it has an effect on the statement of cash flow, which it does in this case, I want it to be recalculated. So the recalculate functions is the one that does all the work after every transactions that we do. And we will go over that today. And other things, when I do a transactions and I click, and then we went over that function last time, when I click on a button, the button is propagating his event of on click. So when I click, let's say on the second one this time, it's propagating. And when it's propagating, it's looking for on-click handler of this event. We put it in the end of these sections. If you remember this part, the whole thing is really a row which has 3 columns. Each columns we put a div, and inside the div, we put here a table. We put a table here, but we put really in the end of this part, okay, of the tables that hosting this one, we put the event and the handler event, I should really say. So when I click on this one, it goes and propagate, and it finds this function. This function is in the code. I just put it here for convenience. And remind you, I'll do a little short review. What does it do? In the event, I capture which buttons did I click. And in each buttons, we put a dictionary representing the transactions. Remind you again, this is the code of, this is the code for the button. Let me, so you can see both of them together. Okay, this is the button. When I click on the first button, this is really the code of the button. I click on it, it's propagating until it reaches this event. This event gets to here, and this one, this element really refer to this link. Okay, I got that element, and the element has attributes called account. So I'm reading the account attributes, which is right here. And if you look here, it's nothing but a dictionary. So I'm putting that dictionary out, okay? And I want to use it in JavaScript. But remember, this is in HTML. And from the HTML, I'm taking an attribute. And I'm taking that attribute. Now I want this dictionary to be a dictionary in JavaScript. And that's the trick we're doing here. I read the attribute, hook it up with another string a equal. Now I have a whole string basically saying a equal to the dictionary. That's S is a string that's saying a equal to this dictionary. In order for a to be the variable, okay, to be the variable, I must run the eval. Okay, so the eval basically is turning the string, running the string as if it was a JavaScript command. And the bottom line is A is a dictionary. Okay, if it is a dictionary, we know that in a dictionary we have what is known as the key value couples, meaning here's the first couple. I have a key, cache 1, and that's the amount, that's the value. The second one, common stack 1, and the value. What am I really trying to do? I want that this command, the next coming one, will update cache 1 to add 50 to it, and to the common stack 1 to add 50. In another word, let's go back to look at this one. I clean it up. After I click on the first one, what do I really want to do? I click on it. I want him to take whatever in the dictionary in the bottom, take the 50 and add it to cache 1. This element called cache 1. But please pay attention that I a little bit kind of misled you. Cache 1, I gave it the name for as ID in HTML. It's not the object name in JavaScript. In order to get that name in JavaScript, I will have to do some work. For now, I skipped that stage for a second. I will come back to that. Okay? Let's assume that I already have that name. So in another word, the I in the first loop, the I refer to cache 1. But in here, cache 1 is really supposed to be JavaScript variable. And I haven't shown you yet where did I define it, and I'll wait in a second. But assuming that I already have done it, okay, what am I trying to do now? I want cache 1.value, meaning the value of an input element, which is nothing but this place. This one, if I do right click as I did a second ago, and you do inspect, you'll see the name of this one is cache 1. So I want the value of this input to change to the 50 in the dictionary in this button. And that's a beautiful trick, okay? So this one is being updated, but that's not the only one. The second one, I want the common stack as well. And what the name of the common stack, if you go here and you look at the inspect, you will see the name of it is common stack 1, okay? So again, I haven't named it yet in JavaScript, and I will show you where I did it, okay? But for now, the beauty here, we put the General ledger in a way of a dictionary, some people like to call it JSON entry. In fact, JSON is more, it's really could be much more elaborated than that one. Here we have really just a simple dictionary that can have all the accounts, and that's general ledger, basically. And the loop here, the beauty of the loop is updating every account, is adding the amount. This one is the amount that I have in the dictionary, and I'm adding it to what it was before. So this is really the value before. I just make sure I turn it from string to an integer because I'm dealing only with integers, but otherwise I had to use number if I had a decimal or float in order to turn it to a float. But here we're dealing with only whole numbers. So parse int will do it in JavaScript. So that's really all the trick. Oh, but after each transactions, I'm calling the recalc function, as I mentioned in number 1. I'm going to go over this function in a second. Okay, this is a very important one that basically updating all the other statements. Okay, so after every click, I want to update this one. Again, this is very simple, very, very simple. This one, if you see, this one is a row which has 2 columns, and in each column we have a button. A button in a way of a link, but because we're using the class and the CSS that comes with those classes, it looks like a button. And we even use an icon for here and another icon for here. This one is running this transaction if you have a good eye. And the other click is just the reverse, the exact reverse. That's what we did last time, and we talked about those stuff. Okay, what we're going to do today, one is going over the function recalc. Second, I want to add another type of transactions, so we'll have a good hand of it. I'm going to go and show you where did I define the variables. Okay, so where we define the variables and how did we do it. Then we'll go over the 2 buttons in the top. If you have a good eye, if you saw that we have 2 buttons here. One is clearing everything. How does it do it in an efficient way? And the other one is filling all of them. Pretty good. With one function that does both of them. And we're just sending one parameters. But we'll go over that function. So the next one, that's what we will do today also. And what else we will do today? Let's see. And I will give you a homework. And that's for you, Daniel and Brenda. They will make a video for that. After I will teach the accounting for merger and acquisition. So that's about another 3 or 4 sessions from now. I will teach accounting for merger and acquisition at least introductory level, in a way for managers to understand that one. And for computer scientists, you're not going to be an expert in accounting, but you really should know how it really looks like and to be able to program it. So your challenge as a homework is to build up another plugin. Let's call it, let's make a new application altogether, a new application. And inside that application, we'll make a plugin, and that plugin, we'll give it a name. Maybe we can call it even M&A, and that's will do the accounting for merger and acquisition. And we'll do it. And I will go over it, and Daniel and Brenda will go over it as a practice session, how you really do plugin for that one. Our teachers was Excel, so I'll give you a chance to convert it to a plugin, which is really nice level to arrive to. Okay? So let's start. That one we already have gone. We have gone. Let's see what we're going to do. Where did we define variables? Okay. By the way, how you can define elegantly variables? You can make a list. If you have, see here, there's a list of all the variables that I want to link, by the way, to the HTML element. And really our element are, for example, cache 0 or cache 1. inventory 0 or inventory 1. If you follow up here, let's take an example. This one, I named it, as I mentioned I think in the previous session, I called it cache 0. The second one right next to it, you can see right next to it, it is cache 1. So I'm really, in another word, all my accounts, I call them by the name 0 or 1. Next video that I'm going to do on business intelligence for accounting, I will show you how it really should be done. This is really just a nice exercise, is a way for a much more sophisticated element and how really should be accounting be done in a real system. Okay, I will talk about account number and how you use it in a database. Please notice we're not using a database here. Okay, this is really a nice exercise for a plugin JavaScript code. So to make things simple, I just renamed them cache 0, cache 1, inventory 0, inventory 1, etc., etc. So all of them, and here, since I don't have a 0, so all of those are already named as 1. Okay, easy. So to make sure that I have all the naming in JavaScript linked to the element in HTML, I just took all the one that I needed, put them in a list, and then I do a loop. Here we go. I do a loop for account. The constant is just really, I don't really need to use a verb, var, and efficiency and all the other things. By the way, honestly, it won't make a huge difference those are days, but just work in the right way. Okay, so account, I'm not going to change account. I'm just going to use it. Okay, so call it as a type of a variable called constant. It's fine in this case. Okay, so what I'm going to do is account is really going to loop over all the elements inside the list. So let's take the first one, cache. Let's say we are in the cache. So what do we do with the cache in the account? So let's read it. It will say, it will make a string cache 1 as a string equal to, and by the way, please pay attention. I'm really putting, this one is pulling the HTML variable. Okay, the HTML element variable. And what I'm really doing is really connecting the name cache 1 in JavaScript connected to this element in HTML. And now I can really go into it and play with it as we did in this example. When we went to, by the way, here, when we did the loop and I was cache 1 dot value, I'm really actually using what I'm really defining right in this example right here, in here. Okay, so anything that I'm really doing here, I'm defining all of those ones. Okay, this is just a copy from that function. I'm doing a loop, and in the loop, I'm taking cache 1, making it the JavaScript element referring to the HTML element. Now that I have, this is really the place that I define it. And I'm defining the 1 and the 0. So I have 1 and 0, because whenever I need the 0, I will use the 0. Whenever I need the 1, I use the 1. Okay, just other definitions. You can go here and you can see this is just one block. That when I need both of them. By the way, this is another block that I don't really need to define 0 because I don't have any 0, like in the income statement. For example, revenue, we don't have revenue 0 in the example. So I just really do the loop and just generated the link connections to the one only. And the rest, I leave it to you, okay? All of those are just, those are naming, by the way, inside the function recalc. Is this the right place to put it? Frankly, not. You should probably run it only once, because when you open the applications, you run it once. You don't need to run it every time you run the recalc. And you remember we said recalc is going to be called by every time I push a button. That definition doesn't need to be done every time. But since it works so fast, I was a little lazy. But that's not the right way to do things. This code has to be moved to another function, and that function should be run only once, okay? But the rest of it is really the calculation of the recalc, and I will go over that in just one sec. Okay, we're going back to this one. Okay, let's look at the two buttons. Okay, we have two buttons, and the two buttons have some code. When I click on this button, it does something. I click on this button, it does something. So let's go and find those buttons and see which functions they are using. Let's go to the code. And as I said, the structure here is so simple. So simple. You have basically, as I said, we have two buttons here, they are, and we have really three divs, one for each column. So the structure-wise, it's extremely simple. Secondly, when I click, please pay attention, it's the same function. So it doesn't matter which button I'm clicking, it's calling the same function. The only difference is I'm transferring a variable C, you can call it whatever you want, and I transfer 1 as a C to be 1, and I'm asking inside the function, I'm handling what it's supposed to do. And the second one, I'm sending it with a 0. By the way, as you can see later on, I could have transferred nothing for the C for the case of 0, anyone of the case of 1, anyone know what to do. But that's detail. The rest is really just CSS, and as I mentioned before, allowing to use this component for like different languages. So let's look at this function. Let's see, what does it do? Let's go over it. Here it is. By the way, here we go. You can see I have another descriptions, another definitions of, by the way, this one can be also moved to another place because it's just really defining a variable called this one. And if I click every time, I don't really need every time to redefine these lists since I'm always using the same list. The second one you cannot really remove because this one actually does the whatever I'm expecting from it. If the C equal, by the way, if you put C equals 0 here, which will not make the difference, and then you didn't really need to transfer C equal to 0. Okay, that will be your default, like in Python. Okay, very similar on any other language. By putting a default, then you don't have to transfer that variable to the function if you want the default. Okay, so what do we really do? We have a list, and all those lists, basically what do I really want to do? So if you have a good eye, you see here account 0, meaning I'm going to take cache 0, and cache 0 for me now is defined in JavaScript as I showed before. The recalc defining it, and the recalc is being called once before everything is really done. So those ones are defined. And what am I trying to do here? Now it's really getting clear. This is a JavaScript name of HTML element. And HTML has as the property called inner HTML. And what am I trying to do in the 0? Put it and turn it to 0. For the other one, by the way, and then after I have it as a string, 0, I'm just calling the eval, and it makes sure that that element called cache 0 will turn to be 0. Some things I'm doing with the cache 1, but cache 1 is an input, and input has a property called value or attribute value, and the value I want to turn to 0, and then after I make the string, I turn that 1 to 0. Some things is with the account 1. By the way, you have the 0 here, you have the 1 and the 0. And you know, this one is really just very simple, I would say, elegant way to use the power of the eval function and make the code so elegant and consistent. But there's nothing really special. And the reason we're doing this video to encourage you to use those tricks. They are very powerful. And as we go along, when we get to the Python stuff, teach you a lot of other tricks in Python that makes the code so elegant and nice. Okay, and move on. The second one, okay, in this new company, very simple things. Again, what do we have here? A list. Okay, again, that list could have been moved to another function, but just since the example is so simple, I didn't. And then the next one is, again, I'm zeroing up. Okay, I'm doing a loop over each one of them. And here you can think about it, I'm just taking the revenue. Okay, it's like taking the revenue, that value, which is an input HTML element, and I'm just zeroing it up, making it as a string, and then the eval, make sure that the same things, all of them really. It's a waste of time to really go over them, but the idea is the same. After I zero up everything, of course, I'm going to call recalc again. Why? Because all the zeroing I'm making here, it's really zeroing all the stuff inside here. I don't need to zero this one. I have the recalc, because I have the recalc is going to add up those three. So after I'm zeroing those three and I'm calling the recalc, it will make that one zero as well. So when I click the zero here, clean data, I'm really cleaning those three and then calling the recalc, and the recalc put the zero here. Some things about this one, everywhere else as well. So that's another elegant way of doing it, and it works so fast. A big advantage is, please, again, I repeat myself, and it's worth repeating. This is, after all, a mini application working on the client side. Doesn't bother the server at all. After the server submitting or rendering in the Django language this plugin, this is it. This plugin doesn't even use Ajax to get data. By the way, we will talk in the future how you can make a plugin when you can download data when the user needs it, or an include that has an Ajax that can get data from the, and that's what get more elaborate, and we'll get there, okay, in future sessions. Okay, so we got that file. The other thing is, we talked about the zero, so we understand the zero, and we remember when you click the one, okay, it fill up everything. So if you fill up everything, so this is zeroing everything, and there's filling up. And let's see what this code is about. You can see that when we fill up, it's calling the same function. It just transfers C equal to 1. So it's going to do all of that, call recalc, meaning is really making the zero, making sure that everything is zero, and then it does that. And by the way, I'm kind of really, I really should write here 1. That was, I don't know why I did it that way, but it doesn't really make a difference. It's really doing, maybe I will fix it. What the heck? Let's do it right. I didn't like it. Let's do it right. I feel more comfortable calling this one 1. Okay? And call this one 0. But it works. And sometimes I follow the rule, if it works, don't fix it. Okay? So maybe I will stay with that rule or whatever. I feel more comfortable when clean data, it means 0, everything, so I put it as a 0. And when I need to fill it up, let's take the C equal to 1, but it really doesn't make a difference, okay? Now let's go back to the function. Let's go back again to the function. Oh, sorry. Let's go back to this function. Okay. And why it doesn't like me? Here we go. Okay, here we go. So when I transfer a 0, that could be the default. It doesn't make any difference. And the 1 just make sure that this one will change to 1. So this one would really work when I really want that one, but that's detail. And take my advice, really, most of the time I wouldn't touch it. If it works, don't touch it. The only point is if you wait 2 or 3 years later down the road, you forget your code and you might get confused. So if you're still working on it, fix it. But if long time passed, don't touch it unless you really have to. That's experienced life. Anyway, so if I really need to create, what am I doing here? And that's a beautiful code, a really, really beautiful code. What does it do? You can see I'm using jQuery here. And the jQuery, you can take document, query select all, and I can select all the element that have AC as an attribute. One more time. I can pick up all the element in the page that has attribute AC. So if we go and look at here, just for convenience, I put it here. Let's look at the buttons here. How did I do it? I put really, if you see AC equal to 1. So this one is going to be picked up, okay? Is this one is going to be picked up? No, it doesn't, because it doesn't really have any AC, okay? So it's going to pick up all the AC. In another word, I'm picking up all of those ones. And I'm even more careful because sometimes I use it and I can do that loop over other elements. But this is a good trick to pick up all elements that you want and just define some attribute, give it any value you want. Or if you want to use different elements and use the same attribute, okay, you can still filter it by saying which number you put there. And I use that as well sometimes, okay? So what do we have here? We pick up all the elements that have attribute AC. So AS underscore, it is really nothing but a list of all those ones. So secondly, I am defining an event. Okay, which kind of an event? A click event, and I allowed bubbling. Why do I need bubbling? You'll see in a minute. So that's important to say bubble true, because I'm going to send this event to all those buttons. I want them as if I clicked on them, all of them in a row, one after the other one, and I clicked all of them. That will be pretty cool. So here we go. I have a loop here. And what am I looping on? I'm looping over all the elements that have an attribute AC with a value 1. And here what I did here, I picked up the attribute AC from every element. By the way, AS underscore parenthesis I. This is really nothing but going over all the buttons, okay, getting the attribute. And I just double check that it has a 1. If the attribute is 1, then this is really what does the job. I'm firing the event on click on that button. So, and since I'm doing a loop, I'm going over all my buttons, and there are 15. So it's going over all the 15. And by the way, we'll add another one today. And then we'll click on it again, and we'll see how this elegant code will work on extra button. So one more time, we put up all the elements in HTML that have an attribute AC. We generate an event of a type of a click with a bubbling. Why we need a bubbling? Because the event is not written in the button. It has to propagate up. And after it propagate up, it reaches the event handler, which is on click. And that place will really carry out that clicking. Okay, so that's very important to add the bubble. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, then I do a loop, go and pick up that application. I get out the attribute AC, double check that it has the value 1, because the one with the 1, I want to go over them. And I fire the event to that one, and it's clicked. So that's pretty cool. So what I really clicking here is emptying everything, and then it goes over all the buttons, and kind of as if it clicked. So this His click is really like clicking. First, clicking on this is really like clicking on this one and then clicking on all those ones in a row after I click that one. That's cool. Okay. So I don't really have to click this one in order to, by the way, here, just for demonstration, I just put a number here. When I click here, it will empty everything, only fill up everything according to the general ledger we have right here. That's pretty cool. Very, very cool trick. Okay, so one more things we covered those buttons. Let's see what next. What next in the stuff we tried to do here. Okay, we covered that one, and I will come back to that. I will make another type. This one we covered the two boards. And here we go. Let's add another button. Okay, how we will add another button? That should be very simple. In this point, we did all the hard work. Okay, we did all the hard work. Let's go back. Let's add one in the third column. I'm going to add one right below the 15. I'm going to add 16 here. Okay, and let's make a transactions there of what did I try to? What did I write here? I wrote, let's say, sale of long-term assets. We're going to sell long-term assets. Okay. By the way, we have acquiring. So maybe I will be even lazy. I have here buy property, plant, and equipment for 400. So let's sell property, plant, and equipment for 100. I can go and take number 6 here from the middle div, okay? Copy this one and change it slightly, and I'm done. So let's take transaction number 6 here, copy it, and see how elegant it could be really. Let's go back to here. Let's go and look for 6 by 6, 6 by 6, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. This is number 6. I'm going to take this block as it is. I don't really need this one, so let's close it so it'll be easy to work. And go back to the bottom. And just edit here. Okay. Instead of 6, it's 16. Just turn up to be the same. I'm just adding 1. And this time, when I'm selling property, plant, and equipment, the general ledger is supposed to be that my cash will go up by 100. So instead of minus 400, I'm just putting a positive 100. My property, plant, and equipment going to go down by 100. Done. This is it. The reverse would be the same, just this time I'll write the minus here and the plus here. Done. Couldn't be easier than that. Wow. I don't know who heads accounting. I don't think you should head accounting. It's pretty cool. Okay. By the way, I don't really know why I did it twice here. There's a reason. Yeah, I know why I did it. Because I wanted to make sure that if somebody click on the image itself, it will get the same result and don't get confused. But otherwise, there's no really need for that. And you probably can play with the way you put, then the way you can design probably mine a little better so the click will go to the right places, but why waste your time? That's so simple. Let's just put it there. Done. Everything should work now. Everything. Let's do it. Let's refresh. Let's test the button first. Okay? Clean up everything. Let's test only this one. Selling. I didn't change the amount. It says 400. Let's fix it. Fix it here. Where do I fix it? It should be in. Where did it should be? No, not here. It should be right here. Okay. Okay. That's what we do. Fresh again. Bingo, we have 100. Let's test only this button. Let's forget about the other one. What we need to see is the cash go up and the property plant should be in the negative. Let's click. Did it work? Yes. We got 100 here and I got minus 100 here. By the way, if we clear up everything and make as if we clicked on all the buttons, I want to see that really I didn't lie to you before. It will pick up also the 16. Pay attention, I didn't have to do anything. That's it. Bingo, it does. It did work. Because we used to have property, plant, and equipment was 400. Minus the 100, give me the 300. Remember last time we had only 3 in the case. Since we sold property, plant, and equipment, we had another 100. Beautiful, worked. Everything works. Cash equal to cash because we have the recalc function. Beautiful, done deal. This is pretty cool. Okay, this is really, I would say, should end the session on a mini plugin with some tricks in JavaScript. I would say it is really 85 to 90% JavaScript, very little on making a plugin in Django. As I showed you, plugin is very easy. It's like an include. You just learn a very small section of the code and you're done. We repeat that process when we talk about merger and acquisition. I will leave it to, again, Brenda and Daniel, our senior consultant, and they will build up that plugin and show it to you. Okay, but that conclude this session. What coming next? Okay, next, it's the real stuff. Real stuff means real life, you will never have an application like that. You won't have a screen like that. And you most likely will use an include like I did in my other applications. Instead, you can take the whole HTML, put it in another page by using an include, and the whole things will work just perfectly. But in real life, you would like to use databases. Accounting, it's a sequence with a lot of examples. Let's take one a little bit more elaborated. I didn't go over all of them. Again, it will be a waste of time. I went over that in the first session, but this one I will go and show you again the dictionary of transaction number 4. Let's look at the transaction number 4. You will see there's nothing special about it, beside that in transaction number 4, my dictionary is a little more elaborated. Number 4, here it is, number 4. And what is my dictionary? My dictionary is nothing but taking all the account, put them in the dictionary, and I'm telling each account what am I supposed to do with each account. Okay? I could invent any general ledger, and that will work perfectly. But in real life, you're not going to put it on the screen directly. In a real life, if I click on this button, I would like to send it to the server and put it in a database. And that will be in the general ledger table, I can call it the easy way, okay? And that table, you really want to build it up smart in the very beginning. You can build it up, and I have seen so many applications of accounting. They're doing it so really, I wouldn't really add any word to it or any adjective to what I wanted to say. Not the right way. If you know business intelligence, you build it up even in the operational system in the right way. And we will talk next time about business intelligence, generally speaking. We will explain what is business intelligence come to do. We'll talk about dimensions. We'll talk about measures. We'll talk about calculated members and why accounting multi-dimensions cube, it's really a challenging one, okay? It has some elements that you don't see in other cubes, and that's why I'm making the next video. Hopefully, I will see you in that video. Thank you, and goodbye.